Nissan is in big trouble as it's about to hit another major roadblock. After huge problems in China and a poor financial situation overall, it's time for the company's lifeline to bleed. That's right. With the new tariffs looming, more than a third of Nissan's U.S. sales will be compromised. Nissan entered panic mode over Trump's tariffs and now is taking desperate measures. Let's take a look. Nissan could move production out of Mexico. That Nissan is in big trouble is no secret. The Japanese automaker is facing various challenges, but until recently, these problems were reserved for the Chinese and similar markets. On the other hand, the U.S. performance has been pretty good. Moreover, the company actually saw a 2.8% growth in the U.S. market last year, with the total sales reaching 924,000 units. But this has come to an end because the new tariffs are about to devastate Nissan's operation in the U.S. The problem, as you may presume, lies in the fact that more than a third of all Nissan cars sold in the U.S. come from Mexico. Like many other automakers that perform in the U.S. market, Nissan also relocated a solid portion of its production to Mexico, and that particularly refers to budget-friendly models. We are talking about models that, generally, don't generate significant per-unit profit, and that's compensated through high-volume production and reduced production cost. That's why Nissan could potentially lose a lot of money, but the officials assured the media that the company is preparing different scenarios for the impact. The most probable is relocation. Nissan CEO Makoto Uchida said, "From Mexico to the U.S., we are exporting a significant number of cars this fiscal year. 320,000 units are exported from Mexico to the U.S. And if the high tariffs are imposed, we need to be ready for this. And maybe we can transfer the production of these models elsewhere if this were the decision. We will think how we can make it a reality while monitoring the situation." The only problem we see at the moment is that we are not sure if Nissan has the capacity to do such a massive relocation, because the production of Mexican-made Nissans exported to other markets would have to be relocated as well. And we are talking about nearly 670,000 vehicles annually. In these times of crisis, it's hard to believe that a company like Nissan has the capacity to make such a transition in a relatively short period. Also, let's not neglect that this would be a major blow to Mexico's car industry. So the southern neighbor will certainly try to find a way to keep Nissan and other car makers in their country. Key models produced south of the border. Nissan's production in Mexico traces back to the 1960s, when the Japanese automaker opened the Civac plant in Cuernavaca, where even today it produces a solid number of pickup trucks. But at this moment, more important are the Aguascalientes plant A1 and Aguascalientes plant A2, where some of Nissan's key models on the U.S. market are produced. The A1 plant has become legendary for its efficiency and production speed long ago, and even today, it's the company's fastest plant globally, with the capacity of producing 65 vehicles per hour. This plant produces the Nissan Kicks, while the A2 plant assembles the Versa and Sentra. We are talking about three budget-friendly cars that have huge importance for Nissan's operations in the U.S., considering that Sentra alone accounted for more than 152,000 sales in 2024. What's particularly interesting is that this compact sedan made significant growth last year, a notable 40% increase in sales. The Versa and Kicks also perform very well, so these three models combined account for 320,000 Nissan sales in the U.S. market. As mentioned, that's more than a third of total U.S. sales. Soon enough, that won't mean much because with an additional 25% tax, none of these three will be generating any profit, unless Nissan decides to move their production outside Mexico. Financial strain. As the Nissan CEO mentioned, the most logical solution would be production relocation. Indeed, that would be a reasonable thing to do in a normal situation. The only problem is that Nissan's situation is not normal. This company is facing the biggest financial challenges in a couple of decades, with lower than expected profits and a global sales decline. With announced production cuts, job losses, and other methods of cost reduction, do you really believe that there are enough resources for massive investments, such as production relocation? Nissan's financial strain is huge. The company is figuring out how to reduce production costs and make it more efficient. They are also pouring millions into EV programs, and God knows when this will start to bring any profit. With the production relocation on top of that, Nissan needs to navigate these financial challenges very carefully if it wants to stay competitive in the changing auto industry. Grouping, merging, consolidation. These would be the keywords of today. But their financial situation makes things very difficult, to the point that all Nissan can get at this moment are humiliating offers. Nissan and Honda have called off their merger. Just a few months ago, it seemed like Nissan found the way out of the crisis by forming an alliance with Honda, which would also include Mitsubishi, given Nissan's stake in the company. But then in January, it became clear that this wasn't gonna happen. The two companies couldn't agree on key terms, and now the deal has been canceled. The reasons are various, but they mostly come from Nissan's financial situation. Simply, while Honda reported a decent 5% increase in profit last year, Nissan dropped sharply. Nissan wanted an equal position in this partnership, but frankly, that didn't make any sense, considering that Honda is worth 5 times more than Nissan at the moment. So Honda offered a deal where Nissan would become its subsidiary, which was refused, and after months of negotiations, it became clear that talks about the merger were done. Still, the two companies decided to carry on with the partnership that started in 2023 regarding electric vehicle projects. After the deal fell apart, Nissan announced a new crisis plan for 2026, but it became perfectly clear that the company still needs a new investment partner, a company that would stabilize it without taking control. So again, Nissan is in talks with Foxconn, once again with a focus on the EV program, which is no surprise since Foxconn's new EV division is now led by a former Nissan executive. Consolidation plan. After failing to merge with Honda, Nissan is on its own again, and it has financial struggles to face. Therefore, the company has just announced a new major cost-cutting plan with several steps that will, among other things, include layoffs and closures. The plan is to cut 6,500 jobs in 2 phases. 5,300 jobs will be eliminated this year, while another 1,200 layoffs are coming in 2026. But even that may not be the final number. Previously, Nissan announced it might need to cut 9,000 jobs worldwide, with some of the job cuts coming through voluntary departures and others through simple elimination of positions. The thing with Nissan's crisis is that supply exceeds demand significantly. Nissan needs to reduce global production by 20%, bringing it down from 5 to 4 million vehicles a year, starting in 2026. The plan includes the closure of 3 factories, with the first one in Thailand. As for the US plants, no shutdowns are planned for now, but we know for sure that Nissan will scale back production shifts in at least 2 plants. Cost-saving measures will be various, and one of them will be speeding up the development of new models. At the moment, Nissan spends 52 months on the development of new models, on bringing a new car from concept to production. According to the new plan, this process will be shortened to 37 months, with the long-term goal of cutting it to just 30 months. Also, one of the ideas is to introduce a simplified design strategy with 6 upcoming global models, by reducing the number of unique parts needed for each of these models. Finally, let's not forget to mention that Nissan also has several new models and technologies in the works, which are about to come out soon. For example, a new powertrain for the Rogue crossover is in the works, while the next generation of the all-electric Leaf is also on the way. Besides the new models, Nissan is also working on new technologies, such as the 3rd generation of its well-known e-Power hybrid system, which is expected to improve fuel efficiency by 20%. These are some of the key points of the new plan. How many of these are about to be accomplished, it's still hard to say. All in all, before the tariffs, Nissan was already struggling to stay over the surface, and now it's getting an extra weight added to its sinking ship. The Japanese automaker can do 2 things: to either absorb massive losses or invest in a costly production shift that it can barely afford. One way or another, the problem remains the same. Nissan simply doesn't have the resources for these kinds of actions, and keeping production in Mexico means higher costs that erase already thin profit margins. The Japanese automaker already has a lot of troubles, and now tariffs are about to turn them into a full-blown crisis. Has Nissan come too close to the edge? We will find out pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.